Audi's understated Q5 forgoes the excesses we tend to associate with premium SUV 4x4s in favour of car-like driving dynamics that set a fresh standard at the plushest end of the compact 4x4 sector. There's a strong engine range, loads of advanced technology and a practical interior crafted in Audi's own inimitable style. In short, if you can afford it, you'd like one. If any premium brand should have a range of SUVs on its books, it's Audi. But it took until 2006 for the Ingolstadt Mark to bring us the huge Q7 7-seater. Middle England buyers liked it but really wanted something smaller, while the Green lobby howled in protest but secretly coveted one. Now for both groups, Audi has brought us the Q5, a more manageably sized design that competes at the priciest end of the compact 4x4 sector, alongside cars like BMW's X3 and Volvo's XC60. Audi says that just 2% of SUV buyers have ever driven across rough country, so it certainly sees no point in developing hardcore 4x4 mechanicals for this car. Instead, it's positioning the Q5 as the performance SUV for all seasons and all surfaces. And for once, the marketing blarney sums things up rather well. The bottom line is that if you use a 4x4 during the week and keep a sports car under dust sheets for the weekend, you can buy a Q5 and sell the sports car. Simple as that. Sounds rather eco-friendly when you put it that way, doesn't it? Many SUVs claim to be sporty, but this one actually is. Certainly if any car of this type handles better, then I haven't driven it. By and large, it doesn't roll any more than the Audi A4 on which it's based, and the stiff, jittery ride at low speeds that you usually get with so-called sporty 4x4s is missing too. No, the Q5 is more evidence that Audi's engineers have rediscovered the secret of driving satisfaction, aided in this case by an unusually sophisticated suspension setup. At least if you opt for the extra cost Audi Drive Select system that I've got here. Here you can choose between comfort, auto and dynamic settings, and Anorax can fiddle with these settings still further through the Audi multimedia interface. But quite frankly, you're probably better just sticking it in auto and leaving the system to do its own thing. There's permanent four-wheel drive, of course, quattro four-wheel drive, intelligent enough in this case to vary the torque between the front and the rear. In most on-road circumstances, it'll push most of the power towards the rear, further aiding the Q5's already impressive agility. Go off-road and the stability system will sense it, switching to a mode that will be ideal for the Q5's intended off-road type of use. And by that I mean the kind of gravel tracks, sand and light off-piste use for which this car was really designed. Now, it'll vary the response according to the surface that you're on, and it'll incorporate a hill descent control should you need it. It'll even tweak itself to accommodate for a roof rack if that's necessary. A towing capability of 2,400 kilograms suggests a range of torquey engines, and so it proves. The top 2-litre TFSI petrol unit and 2-litre TDI 170 diesel, they both manage 350 newton meters of torque. And if you go for the 3-litre TDI that I've got here, you've got 500 newton meters of torque. That's from an engine that can push this car from rest to 60 in under 7 seconds. Now the task of marshalling all that power falls to a 6-speed manual gearbox, or if you go for the automatic option, you've got a 7-speed S-tronic dual clutch semi-automatic DSG transmission. The Q5 is conservatively styled, much as you'd expect a compact Audi 4x4 to look. Dimensions that see it at 4,630mm long and 1,650mm wide give it a sleek, ground-hugging stance, and bring the centre of gravity closer to terra firma than in most of its rivals. It's pretty spacious inside the 5-seater cabin, which has an airy feel if you go for the optional skylight roof that I've got here. Now the back seats recline, and they can also slide up to 100mm forwards at extra cost. It's a pity that when they fold forward completely, They don't tumble or disappear into the floor, but at least in doing so, you've increased your luggage room from 540 to 1,560 litres. Load length can be increased by going for the optional folding flat front passenger seat. And if you've got that, you've got enough load length for something like a surfboard. Now, theoretically, you can buy a Q5 for significantly under £30,000, but in reality, most Q5s will actually be sold in the £30,000 to £35,000 bracket. And depending on the spec and the extra options you choose, you could easily find yourself paying up to £10,000 more than that. Now, that might be a little bit shocking if you were thinking of comparable models like Toyota's RAV4 or Honda's CR-V, but it won't be if, more realistically, you're comparing this car to prestige badge rivals like Mercedes GLK, BMW's X3 or Volvo's XC60. At least for the money, it comes with a decent haul of standard equipment, and there are of course plenty of exterior trim options. An S-Line package emphasises the car's sporty side with some styling body kit stuff, or you can go for an off-road package which provides underbody protection to avoid costly accidents when going on rough terrain. But specify that and you really should have bought a Land Rover Freelander instead. My favourite option? A thermal cup holder. Why has nobody thought of that before? The Q5 has been developed to take most of the engines available in its donor car, the Audi A4 Avant, a car that in its quattro forms might even be a better bet for some buyers. Now, these include entry-level and premium petrol choices. That's a 178 brake horsepower 2-litre TFSI petrol unit or a 3.2-litre FSI 6-cylinder engine, or an entry-level diesel choice. That's the 138 brake horsepower 2-litre TDI. But most UK Q5 buyers will go for 3 mainstream units. Now, these start with a 168 brake horsepower 2-litre TDI diesel, or the engine I've gone for here. That's a 237 brake horsepower 3-litre TDI. There's also a petrol option that's very popular. That's a 208 brake horsepower 2-litre TFSI engine. The Q5 makes a reasonable stab at avoiding the kind of prohibitive running costs that are associated with larger 4x4s. The 2-litre TDI 170 that most customers will choose manages 42 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle after all. But the higher performance associated with the 2-litre TFSI petrol and 3-litre TDI engines mean that they manage only 32.3 or 36.6 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle respectively. Insurance groupings for these engines ranges between 15 and 17. CO2 figures for the two diesels, well, that's between 175 and 199 grams per kilometre, while even the 2-litre TFSI, the top 2-litre TFSI, that manages to dip below the 200 grams per kilometre of CO2 barrier. Residual values, well, as with any in-demand Audi model, they should be reasonably buoyant, so you shouldn't catch a cold when the time comes to sell your Q5 on. Whether your destination is Sainsbury's or the annual family skiing trip to Crans Montana, you'll feel better about doing it in a Q5. Unlike larger 4x4s, there's not the nagging feeling of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut when it comes to meeting your real motoring needs, nor when you're alone on a twisting B-road should you feel the need to wish you'd bought something sportier. Audi should have made this car years ago, but at least they've done it now. Yes, it's a bit pricey, but since nothing else in the sector is as desirable, you can perhaps forgive the Germans that. Resolutely high-tech and resolutely real-world, it's resolutely right.